safe plate. And I'm gonna spray this with some cooking spray, sugar, flour, eggs, butter, and almond extract. So, I think Food Network called, and maybe I think they got wind of my little show here. I mean, I have been working like really hard, going on 3 weeks now, and you know, like enticing me with like a professional kitchen and like recipes that don't start with a, you know, a cake mix out of a box and that like have more than 4 ingredients or whatever. Like they said, like they'd give me like makeup and wardrobe. Like, what am I, like getting married? I think I'm okay. They said like I should get bras that don't have the word sport in front of them, insinuating that like my boobs aren't supposed to rest on my gut. And I thought that was kind of rude. Plus they already have Giada. I can't compete with that. I mean, she's got that niche already, you know? So, you know, I was like, no, like my tens and tens of fans appreciate my like au naturel look and my like sweatshirt du jour, which means of the day. I learned that in Dumb and Dumber, the soup du jour. That sounds good. I'll have that. What was I saying? Oh, so it was like, I mean, it said on my caller ID said like unknown caller, but it was a California area code. So I just assumed. They didn't leave a message, but I'm hopeful that they'll call back. Anyways, we're gonna do black and white cookies. And if you've never had a black and white cookie, you're missing out because they're amazing. They're not like, what am I trying to say? They're not like cookies at all. It's like a little handheld cookie shaped cake, which is I think why I love them, with like the most delicious icing. And they're not always good, truthfully, depending on where you get them. They're like, they vary kind of widely. And I would honestly say like 50% of the black and white cookies that I've ever had weren't very good. And then the other half were phenomenal. So I've only made black and white cookies one time. It was probably like 5 years ago, and they did turn out great. They were very good. For the life of me, have no idea what recipe I used. It's very typical of me. So I found one which was taken from the American Test Kitchen cookbook. So I'm gonna give it a try and we'll see how it goes. So the cookies themselves, I went ahead and did this part, the flour, baking powder, and baking soda already mixed in here. I will put the ingredient list, the measurements, everything in the comments so you can make these. I doubled this recipe. So it was 3.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, would have been a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, left that out because I'm using salted butter. So that's what's in here already mixed up. Then you need what said 10 tablespoons of butter, so 20 tablespoons of butter because I doubled it, which is like 2.5 sticks. So that's softened, right? So it's at room temperature. Your eggs are also supposed to be at room temperature, so you might want to take those out early, as well as sour cream, which I just took out of the fridge. So that is what it is. So basically, we're going to mix this butter with 2 cups of sugar for 2 minutes till it's like really, really, really fluffy. Okay? 2 cups. Obviously, you can use a handheld mixer. You don't have a KitchenAid. So 2 cups of flour. We're going to let this go for, sugar. We're going to let this go for like 2 minutes. ahead and prep up my sour cream. It's going to be a total of 2/3 cup of sour cream. This is handy, this little squeezy thing. Kind of like that. So there's one of the thirds. I'm going to go ahead and straighten down the sides a little bit. With my new, it's going to be backwards no matter what, my new thing, this thing. Turn it off before I do that, just kind of scrape down the sides. This part I usually kind of just keep going, get it really fluffy. 2 minutes doesn't seem like a long time, but it's kind of a long time. The only other ingredient now, we're going to put in 2 eggs and 2 tablespoons of vanilla. Other recipes, every other recipe I've ever seen really for black and white cookies. Can you even hear me? I guess I'll find out. Calls for lemon extract also. Adds a little lemony flavor to it. Not my dig. I mean, if I'm making a lemon dessert, sure, but this thing has like vanilla and chocolate icing on it. So I'm just gonna go with this recipe and what it says, which is 2 tablespoons of vanilla. And I'm gonna use real vanilla instead of imitation. We've talked about that in previous episodes. But 2 tablespoons. It's probably like $6 worth of vanilla. So I'm going to go ahead and add my eggs. Turn that down. Add these one at a time. I'm going to take my chances with the shells. I think that was good. Mix that in. Get the other one in there. Only one of these was room temperature because I didn't know I was going to double the recipe until a minute ago. So that's not going to ruin anything. And again, science that I don't understand, so I can't explain why. I just follow the instructions. My mother says I need a trash bowl like Rachel Ray, so I don't have to keep leaving the camera. She's probably right. But that's Rachel Ray's thing, you know? If I'm going to be competing against these people for eyeballs on the network, then I got to come up with my own thing. Maybe I'll do, instead of a trash bowl, I'll do like a trash pot. Something like that. Mix this just a little further. Then, the directions say, add the vanilla, 2 tablespoons. Vanilla extract. So it doesn't splash in my face. 2 tables. Really? Yeah, that's what it says. That is a lot of vanilla. Holy mackerel. All right, 2 tablespoons of vanilla. Let that up some more. Then we get our flour mixture and our sour cream. And we're going to put in half of the flour mixture, mix that in, put in the sour cream, mix that in, and then the remaining flour. So as you can beat at this portion of making cookies, you know, after you get your eggs and your sugar and your everything in there, you can beat. It's nice to get it nice and creamy, beat some air into it, things like that. But once you add the flour, you want to mix until it's just combined. Because if you overmix it, like it can get tough or, I don't know, again, sciencey things. So I'm going to put about half of the flour mixture in here. Oopsie. Or half of it on the counter, something like that. Jeez, get a mess. Oh my Lord. Look at it, like fell in here, and just add that. No big deal. All right, mix this for a sec. Really hope that this time I have everything that I need right here in front of me, because these are like my least flattering pants. I mean, legit. I'm not just saying that. Okay. Just mix that just until. Then I'm gonna add the sour cream mixture, or not mixture, the sour cream, 2/3 of a cup. So this is 1/3 of a cup. So I'm gonna add this in. Fill it back up. So a black and white cookie, again, you've probably seen them, even if you've never had one. They're kind of like a big deal up in New York. In the delis up there, you can get, and they're huge. Generally, they're really, really, really big, really big. I think I'm gonna just try a few different sizes today and see, which one I like. Okay, so the second third of a cup. Put that all in there, sour creamy goodness. Maybe that's why she doesn't, or America's Test Kitchen or whoever, he or she, didn't add the lemon, because maybe the tartness is coming from the sour cream. What do I know? Mark and I got real excited because we are big fans of the British Baking Show, and while on Netflix, we realized there was a season we hadn't seen. And that was like bonus big time. This is my life. This is what I get excited about. So the remaining flour, we're going to just dump in the remaining flour and do our best to just, I'm going to mix it for a couple minutes just so there's no streaks of flour, and then scrape down the sides. Do that one more time. Whoopsie. Check. Okay, I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so just needed to get a little bit more prepped here. So the directions say to take a 1/4 cup, spray it or grease it, it says, in order to scoop out, again, these are big cookies. I wonder if I have a round one. And put them onto the thing. So I'm gonna try that. And then I have my big scooper. So I might try that. No, that's not my big one. That's my medium one. This is, well, maybe not. So I'm gonna try all 3 sizes, not at once because they'll have different cooking times. So maybe I'll skip that 1/4 thing and just try this large scoop. I will spray it though. Just spray it and see if that helps. Oh, no problem. You didn't see that. No problem. It just came right on out. And it is a big monster cookie. I'm gonna see if I can do it without this spray. Oh my gosh. No problem. So I'm just gonna do 5 big ones on this tray and get these in the oven. And then while those are baking, we will make the icings. Okay, so I did kind of like 3 different sizes. That first one, which was sort of the large scooper, made this size. Then I used the medium scooper that made this size. And then I used not a 1/4 cup, but a 1/3 measuring cup, a 1/3 of a cup measuring cup. And that was this size, which is still small for a black and white cookie. So yeah, I just did that. So now we're gonna make the icings. A black and white cookie is half vanilla, half chocolate on the same cookie. So this is 10 cups of confectioner's sugar. And to that we add 12 tablespoons, because it was 6, so now it's 12 tablespoons. It was supposed to be whole milk, but I didn't have whole milk, so I had skim milk and I had heavy cream. So I just did half and half of that. And then we're gonna add, let's see, 4 tablespoons of corn syrup. That's this right here. I need a tablespoon. Here's one. 4 tablespoons of corn syrup. Oh my gosh, I'm so weak. There we go. 1. Oh. We're gonna go with approximately 2. So the interesting thing about black and white cookies is you actually ice the bottom. So they sort of get a little dome on the top. Mine didn't really get like a good dome, but they didn't rise as much as I would have wanted. But then you actually flip them over and ice the bottoms. And so they sit like this. So I don't know why that is, but it's true. So we have got the corn syrup in there. So the next thing we put in here is vanilla, and we do 2 teaspoons. A lot of vanilla in this recipe, guys. So 1, 2 teaspoons, and then we're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of, right? An entire teaspoon of salt. We're going to whisk that together. And then we're going to, here it is. Then we're going to pour half of it into this bowl and add some cocoa powder so that we have the chocolate version. So mixing this up, we are going to use an offset spatula to ice these. If you don't have one, just use a butter knife. An offset spatula is like a crooked thing, so it just kind of gives you a better angle. So this is very thick icing, so it's hard to, they said whisk, but that's not really working. Holy mackerel, this is like a workout. All right, so this is what I'm looking for. See how thick it is? Oh my gosh, this is gonna taste so good. I'm gonna take half of it and put half of it in this bowl, approximately half of it. I'm not gonna certainly not worry about measuring it or anything like that. It's probably a mistake, but there you have it. And then I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons. I'm gonna leave more vanilla. 6 tablespoons of, what do you call it? Cocoa powder. I tried a tablespoon. Oh, for crying out loud. There we go. 6 tablespoons of cocoa powder into one of them. Seems like a lot to me. I might start with 4 and see how it looks. You also want to add an additional 2 tablespoons of the whole milk for obvious reasons. Okay, mix that up and we'll have our chocolate icing. Yeah, I think maybe 4 tablespoons was enough, but that's also probably because I did not, accurately measure out half of it. So there's definitely more vanilla than chocolate. And one of the reasons I did that is because I have seen black and white cookies where the entire cookie is first iced with vanilla and then it sets, and then when you do the chocolate half, you just put it on top of the vanilla. Of course, that's better. It's just more icing. Entenmann's does that. Entenmann's has a black and white cookie that's actually not bad, and that's how they do it. Other people just put vanilla on one half, chocolate on the other half. So I'm going to try and ice it all the way with the vanilla, all the way through. I still think this is probably a little bit too thick. So I think what I'm going to do is add a little bit more milk because I want it to kind of drip off the sides, like ooze a little bit off the sides. Not that this thing would taste bad like this. I mean, it's still going to be yummy, but so I will try and add a little bit more. So basically what we do at this point is I'm going to I'll do a couple more. I'm going to stick them in the fridge. And then once they set a little bit, we'll come out and we'll ice the chocolate half. So remember, like when I told you that one of the distinctive features of a black and white cookie is that you ice the bottom of the cookie, and the cookie itself has a dome. It's flat on the bottom and has sort of supposed to have a rise to it. And then you flip it over and you ice the flat part for whatever reason that you do that. Somebody should have reminded me of that. Because I forgot that quick, and I iced, I'd say a good 3/4 of the cookies incorrectly before I remembered. I mean, is it a big deal? I mean, no. Truthfully, partly because the cookie didn't rise that much, so there's not really much of a dome on it to begin with, so really not that noticeable. But, you know, let's see. Let's take this one for example, which I've already put the white icing on, right? So you can sort of see the dome a little bit. I was supposed to have iced that side as I did with this one. See? So, you know, it's going to taste the same, so I'm not like devastated over it. This is why I guess I'm not a professional baker. I mean, Paul and Mary, I'd be out, you know, if Paul and Mary would be like really upset with me. So I've, you can see back there, I'm not going to turn around. I've iced incorrectly some of those over there with the chocolate. So I'm going to show you that now. So I really haven't let these set long enough. Here's one of the ones I iced correctly. And you can see it, like the icing drips down. That's why I added a little touch more milk after that first one that I did. So you want it thick. It doesn't look like it's going to drip initially. But if you just let it sit, it'll spread and start to do that. So here, now, some people use like a, you know, like a piece of wax paper and put it here so they can have like a crisp line. I'm finding that I'm not going for perfection. It's homemade. I don't mind if it looks homemade. So I'm gonna I kind of been lifting, let me do that again. I've kind of been lifting this up, letting it drip, making my line like this, and then putting the rest here, smoothing that out, right? So you can see it's like doesn't look like it's gonna drip down or spread because it's just at that consistency where if you let it sit, it is gonna start to kind of thin itself out and be nice and smooth, like the white side, right? Not bad. So let me tell you a couple things here. Firstly, if I'm being honest, I don't love the cookie part of this recipe. I mean, I went with America's Test Kitchen because it's, you know, reliable. But when I looked at some of the other recipes, the cookie part was radically different. And not radically. I mean, it still had butter and sugar and eggs and stuff. But, you know, different proportions and stuff. So I would try a different cookie next time. I'm not in love with the taste of this cookie or the fact that it didn't rise a whole lot. That could be my fault. I don't know. But I would try a different. But the icing looks great and tastes, I think, like it's pretty much like it's supposed to. It's nice and glossy because of the corn syrup. The other thing I want to tell you is that, let me take one of these ones I did wrong. Take one of the babies. A fun thing to do with these is to, you know, make up the white icing, and then instead of making the chocolate icing, you know, take half of the white icing, put it in a different bowl, and use food coloring. So you could make it spring colors or something like that. Or, and I like this the best, is like if you're having like a Super Bowl party, you know, you could do team colors, or, you know, for your kids' soccer game end of year thing or whatever, you could do, you know, team colors. I think that's pretty fun. So the recipe itself isn't difficult. The cookies are just pretty much like making any other cookie. I gotta say, I'm ready to sit down. It's nighttime and I'm tired and I still have to do all this. The other part was sitting here just debating is where the heck am I gonna store these, because I can't really stack them, at least not yet. I mean, I'd say they'd need to sit out, or in the fridge or something overnight before I would stack them on top of each other. And even then I'd probably put wax paper between them. But I not really clear how I'm going to do any of this. And really, I just want to sit down and watch Netflix. So, so that part about this is, it's a little time consuming. Again, I doubled the recipe because it said it made 12 large cookies. I didn't think that was enough, but now I've got 1 million cookies. So I definitely could have gotten away with making one batch of this. So yeah, black and white cookies upside down, not the right way, but let me know if you have any questions. Microwave safe plate. And I'm gonna spray this with some cooking spray, sugar, flour, eggs, butter, and almond extract.